Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Larry Meyer, and my guest this evening is our founding rabbi, Rabbi Mark Levin. And today I've titled this segment of the Voices of Beth Torah in the beginning. Rabbi is going to share with us his thoughts on how Beth Torah got started, what it took to get it started, highs, lows. Was there a point where this just ain't working. Let's just go back and do something else. So I just kind of wanted to get his thoughts, and I thought it'd be fun to a lot of things that I don't know. So I thought it'd be fun to get Rabbi's perspective on how we got started, and I think that'd be a great place to start off our Voices of Beth Torah podcast. So without any further ado, our founding rabbi, Mark Levin.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
So again, I'll just let you kind of start on your own path.
Okay,
So
you want the beginnings. So
I
I had
want the
been
beginning.
rabbi at Congregation B'nai Yehuda. It was Michael Zedek and me, and they had recently changed my position and my title, and things did not go well with that change, and decided to leave. And I was looking for positions when Hal Seder came to me and said, if we were to start a congregation in Kansas City, how would you feel about taking that? And I said, well, I would certainly consider it. Um, the idea of somebody actually starting a congregation, it's a major enterprise, and they got a number of families together. It was 20 families, as far as I remember, and in I guess March of 1988, I accepted the position, and we made a public announcement. And then in June, I guess the families got together at um, Cheryl and Harris, Cheryl and David Harris's home. We had a service, a Friday night service for those founding members. And in the middle of July, we actually opened the congregation at what is today the Chabad House. I always forget the number of this street, but it's like
Right,
7th Street or something,
right,
the block west of Knoll. And
right.
that first Friday night, we had a great number of people. It was very, very satisfying and really surprised that evening how many people came from the community. Not all of whom joined. Some people just came for the support. Rabbi Morris Margulies, who at the time was retired rabbi from Congregation Beth Shalom, sat right there in the front row. And so we were off to a fairly good start. We had to find a place for the High Holy Days because High Holy Days were my memory is early September. I'd have to look it up to get the exact dates, but that's my memory. And Hal Seder had said that he would not call a congregational meeting until we had 100 families, which, for some new congregations is a couple of years in the future. And on September the 6th, we hit our 100th family, and
Wow.
Hal called a congregational meeting. And obviously that went well. We had that in the hotel at 87th Street and what is that there? 69 Highway, I think.
Yeah, the highway. Yeah.
And at Yom Kippur that year, so we opened it. It was always the policy at Beth Torah that no one needed to pay for High Holy Day tickets. And it was open to the community. And that year for Yom Kippur, we had 600 people came for Yom Kippur services in the evening and in the morning. So it was a well-established congregation. We opened the religious school. I believe the number was 90 students. We had a volunteer teacher in every classroom. Uh, so grades kindergarten. I think there was a kindergarten. It may have been just the first grade. I think there was a kindergarten through 10 with a combination seventh and eighth grade together. And we had volunteers doing most things. David Harris started off uh, singing the service, and that first year, Cheryl Harris ran the religious school, unbeknownst to me, getting up 4 o'clock in the morning every Sunday morning to make
Wow.
it happen. So we started with 90 students. We ended the year with 120 students, and pretty good size in every classroom. And so we were a going enterprise from the very beginning. in terms of whether there were ever any doubts, people came to me, well-meaning, some not so well-meaning, but people came to me, primarily well-meaning people, and said, "Mark, you're throwing away your career. What are you doing?" And I never had a doubt. I always believed that there was not only a place in southern Johnson County for a very serious Reform Judaism, which is what I considered us to be, but also for a social justice oriented congregation that would be highly participatory, and that is in fact what happened. It was a go, as I say, from the very first year, and people just kept joining. We had put a limit on it at the beginning I can't remember. I always have trouble with this number, whether it's 425 or 450 families. I think it was 450. And there was so much pressure because we had a waiting list. After the first couple of years, there was so much pressure that we changed the number to 650, filled up at 650, and did not have pressure beyond that. So the congregation's size remained between 625 and 650 families.
Perfect. So in the beginning, who were the you couldn't have done this all by yourself. So you mentioned
Oh God,
there.
no.
Who were some of them? Yeah.
So
who
Hal
were
was
your
the
other
president.
helpers?
Cheryl Harris. We'd have to take a look at the list of board members, and frankly, I'm forgetting a good many names right now. Roshan Paris sticks out. Bob Wolf sticks out. Eddie Herman sticks out. Trying to think of who else. Eileen Gary, Phyllis Goldberg. Those folks, Phyllis, Eileen, Cheryl, were all subsequently presidents of the congregation. Barry, Katz, Barry and Linda were very highly involved. Trying to think of others. Of course, I should have put together some names. Louise Hipsch. Louise Hipsch was highly involved and taught in the religious school. The teachers in the religious school, by the way, were all pretty much certified teachers, but they all taught as part of their contribution. The original members, the members list, which sometimes people ask me about, the members list were both financial supporters and people who gave a lot of time to the congregation. So, for instance, my parents, who were not particularly affluent people and financial support, not outstanding as financial supporters, but they're on the list because they were highly involved as volunteers. And there were quite a number of people like that in the first year. So those lists are limited to people who were involved in the first year, getting the congregation started. So that was the board, but there were other committees. The Women of Beth Torah got started early on, not right there in the first year. We really were focused on getting the school up and getting worship going. At the beginning, we were just using off-prints from what was in the Reform Prayer Book before Mishkan Tefillah, Gates of Prayer for Shabbat.
Gates of Prayer, yeah.
And we pretty much used service number 4 because part of my feeling was that we should go straight through the service without any hesitation, without any stops. And then from the very beginning, we said everybody could participate in any way that they want. So they can participate verbally or they can be quiet during worship. The idea there was to have people participate and to never feel self-conscious about it. So those people who wanted to pray silently, they could do that. Those people who wanted to pray everything out loud, they could do that. And it would all just be part of the regular Erev Shabbat worship. Same thing with Shabbat morning. We, by the way, always had a Shabbat morning service and all the holidays, first and last days of Pesach, first and last day of Sukkot, Shavuot. We always had all the worship.
So we've gone through the years. We've been you retired. When did you retire? You retired in 2014. 2014, that's right. And then
so
we had 2 years.
26 years at Beth Torah.
Yeah. Then we had 2 years of an interim rabbi, and I remember. And then Javier started in 2016 on July 1st, which is the day I'll always remember. It was the day my wife passed away. But now it's 5 years later, and so we've been kind of the proverbial, walking in the desert for the last 3 years with no rabbi. Now we have one, and I think we got a good one. I really think we got a good one. So
He's very
what's your
competent, very good, and a really good fit, in my opinion, for Beth Torah.
yeah? So you're if he was listening, which I'm sure he will be, sage, words of wisdom for the new rabbi coming in, and here it is. Don't screw it up, or you know, uh,
No, 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 not at all. The rabbinate has changed and congregational life has changed. One of the reasons, frankly, I retired when I did for several different reasons. But one of the reasons, quite frankly, was the change in communications, uh, systems of communication. Uh, forgetting all of them, but Instagram and email and all those things really changed the rabbinate very significantly. And then obviously COVID exacerbated that problem. But I was already out of the congregational rabbinate for 6 years.
mhm,
But my point being that things have really changed in the rabbinate, and the people who are working in the active rabbinate today have a much different system to try to deal with, to bring people in, meet people's needs, etc. I'm involved currently with something called Jewish Sacred Aging, in aging projects for people uh, who are dealing with either their parents' aging or their own aging. But half of the Jewish community in the United States today is over 50 years old. A high percentage is already retired. And so it's a very different community than it was, let's say, well, I've been in the rabbinate for 50 years, so it's very different than it was then. And the skills and issues of the rabbinate have changed significantly. So what I would say to a new rabbi, and look, the new rabbi grew up in part at Beth Torah, and he knows the
mhm.
Beth Torah congregation, Beth Torah culture. His mother, Hillary Lewis, was the community educator.
Right, right.
Many people remember Hillary, and
Mhm.
she was a godsend to all the schools, including ours. Although we had our own educator, she nonetheless provided a great measure of help to all the congregations. So the new Rabbi Craig Lewis, certainly knows the community. His brother is the head of Federation, the professional head of the Jewish Federation in town, and he's also social justice oriented, and he's very pastorally minded. And those two things were pointed out to me as hallmarks of my rabbinate. We were a very social justice oriented
Mhm.
congregation, the most social justice oriented congregation, Jewish congregation in the city, really by far. I could give you examples of that, and that's very much uh, along the lines of his rabbinate. But also, he's very pastorally minded. He's a very good guy. I think people will find him easy to speak with. He's not the kind of person, and I didn't want this either. I was offered, actually, at the same time that I took Beth Torah, I was offered a 2,300 family congregation in Cleveland, Ohio. And among the reasons that I chose Beth Torah over such a large congregation was I just did not want the responsibilities attendant to being the senior rabbi, and you really are the senior rabbi. There's 2, 3 people on the rabbinic staff, etc. Uh, I really didn't want all the organizational responsibilities. For one, it's not my interest. For another, it's not my forte. And the person who went there, who happened to be a very dear friend of mine in the rabbinate and is to this day, was very much an administrative type. And as a matter of fact, coincidentally, I'll just mention this: in rabbinic school, he ran the school newspaper, and I wrote the editorials. So uh, we have more than a 50-year history of that, and he
Wow,
was a good fit to that congregation.
perfect. Well, that gets us up to present day. I know we're very excited for July for the new rabbi to come on board and all the festivities that are going to go on with it. I've not heard of any yet, but I'm sure there will be. Any other final thoughts or words on? I kind of took
Sure,
you through a fast course.
I would urge people to remember that the core of Jewish life today in the United States, and this is across the board, is community.
Hmm.
And particularly with an aging community, we have a group of people who want, who have re- religious issues that most often they don't discuss with other folks. The issues around our mortality, the issues around caring, the issues around all the things that happen along with the body as we age. And on the other hand, being a little bit more advanced in age, which the Jewish community in general is, we also have a bit more free time. A lot of people will be empty nesters and are looking for those folks that they can, who have similar issues, but it's all based on community. So when people come, the congregation succeeds. When people say, I'm going to wait for the other guy to come, it becomes a harder road for the congregation to be successful. And so I would just urge everybody to show up. Show up and talk to your friends, show up and make new friends, bring friends along with you, whether they're members of the congregation or not, frankly, whether they're Jewish or not. Come and make sure that you have people there that you feel good with. I think you'll enjoy the worship. The sermon that Rabbi Lewis gave when he was visiting was terrific.
Hmm.
And I think the openness of our worship, which I'm sure that he will continue, the friendliness of our worship, and of the community, of the congregational community in general, I think will really urge people to come back and be the active congregation that we once were. The night when we pulled into the parking lot, when my wife and I pulled into the parking lot, the night that Rabbi Lewis spoke, I honest to God thought it was the high holy days. I mean, the parking lot was full. Just shows the excitement of people to once again have a rabbi that they can rely upon in the congregation, and who's going to be, I think, a very serious assistance to congregational life. But it really does depend upon all of us to be involved.
Perfect. Wonderful, Rabbi. Thank you so much. I think this will be an excellent first episode of our Voices of Beth Torah. I hope we can have you back in on different topics over time it goes on. But I appreciate it and have a good evening. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
I look forward to seeing everybody at Beth Torah at worship.
Thank you.